Afraid that your husband is an asshole? To the waiter, to your friends, and even to your family? Or even worse, perhaps he is reserving his asshole behaviour just for you. And now you're worried that the love is fading in your relationship and the future for your marriage doesn't seem as bright. Don't worry. Many women have been in the same situation before and they've managed to work their way out of it. In this video, I'm going to go through 5 surefire signs that you're onto something in thinking that your husband is an asshole. After that, we'll talk about what you can do about it. Number 1, he doesn't help at all with the children. Does your husband come home from work, sit on the couch, and never lift a finger for your children? While you're constantly busy running around looking after them? Even when you force him to do something for you, like hold the baby, he reluctantly does it and never seems happy about it. Despite what some men might say, this is never okay. Even if your husband works all day, he still needs to do his fair share for your children. After all, you carried the child for 9 months, birthed him, and literally made his food from your body. No matter who you are, a husband can always spare an hour out of his day to look after the children he committed to. Even if your husband literally does nothing for your children and hardly ever looks after them or even communicates with them, then that is A-grade asshole behaviour. He's skirting his responsibilities and acting like an asshole to the wife he vowed he will love to death do us part. Even if your husband makes the money in the relationship, it doesn't give him a free pass to not help with the children. Having children is exhausting. No one denies that. But that's the agreement you sign up for the day you decide to get married and have children. Do you know what you need to do? Spend some time for yourself. Go out, do your own thing, and leave the kids with him. If he complains about it, remind him that they are his children and he can't avoid being their father anymore. Oh, and if he says that he will do this as a favour for you, tell him that you don't consider it a favour as it's literally part of his responsibility as an adult. Number 2, he only cares about himself. You know your husband is an asshole if he doesn't care about your feelings. In fact, if your husband is definitely an asshole if whenever you try to share your unhappiness, hurt or anger, he shuts you down by one-upping you with the story of his own obviously worse tragedy. It's as if he tries to compete with you for victim status and attention. And whenever something bad happens, he tries to make it 100% your fault. You're the one who is always guilty for any negative event. Yet, when it comes to making decisions, it's either his way or the highway. He doesn't care about your opinion, he's completely self-centered, toxic, and doesn't care about anyone's feelings but his own. When you're around your husband, you can't help but feel alone because you know he's not thinking of you. He is so into himself that there's no interpersonal connection at all. It sucks, but it can turn around. I'll talk about what to do later in the video. Number 3, he is incredibly manipulative. Manipulators are basically liars. You know your husband is a manipulator if he pretends to be on your side, but in reality, he only tends to use you for his own needs. Has he also stopped being authentic with you and only wants you to come out to a special event if it makes him look good? This is undoubtedly asshole behaviour. In fact, to achieve his goals, he'll go out of his way to make you feel good so he can then use you to get what he wants. While that might sound kind of normal for a marriage, it's actually incredibly toxic and it's unfair on your emotions to get played around like a yo-yo. As a result of his cunning behaviour, you can't help but be confused. On the one hand, he seems to love you as he drops incremental love bombs to win you over, but on the other hand, he seems to use your trust and manipulation of your feelings to get what he wants. Number 4, your husband is highly critical of you and thinks he is superior. If he finds it hard to accept you as you are, and he regularly criticizes you for what he sees as faults, then you can bet your bottom dollar your husband is an asshole. And you're probably starting to really dislike him for it. It's almost like he uses shame as a weapon to make you feel bad and himself better. Whenever a problem confronts your life, he insists that it's your own fault and that it wouldn't have happened to him. He easily belittles your choices, pokes fun at your accomplishments, and seeks to make you think that he is a better person. Because he has this air of superiority around almost everyone, but especially you. Number 5, he bullies you constantly and tries to control your behaviour. Well, this simply isn't right, and if your husband is bullying, then it sure as hell needs to stop. Does he constantly try to control your behaviour? Does he lie to you to manipulate you? If you say you're going out with your gal pals, he'll kick up a fuss and tell you that you need to be home looking after the kids. Meanwhile, he wouldn't have a second thought about going for beers with his friends after work on a Friday. And when you have your own opinions, he shuts them down because he can't stand the fact that you possess the ability to critically think for yourself. It's his way or the highway. This is not okay. You're an independent and strong woman. You don't need a husband putting you down and making you feel like shit. You don't deserve it. The fact of the matter is this: he has serious issues and something needs to be done to address it. So what can you do about your asshole husband? Now that we've established that your husband is an asshole, the question is, why are you with him? Are you left with no choice but to stay with him? Are you dependent on him? Was your husband a nice guy in the past and it's only recently that he's changed? Maybe he has fallen out of love? Obviously, each scenario is different. And if your husband has only recently become an asshole, then it can be rectified. You just need to get him to snap out of it. But if you feel like there is no hope of change, then you shouldn't feel like you have to stay with him. If you're completely reliant on your husband, then you need to work on different areas of your life to not be so dependent. I'm guessing that it will take time, but it will be well worth it. Ask your friends for help. Hustle your ass off to figure out your own source of income. No doubt it's tough, but staying with an asshole can't be good for your long-term emotional health. Look, if your kid's together and a house and a dog and what have you, then obviously leaving him is going to be difficult. I understand. But if your husband truly is an asshole, then it's probably imperative that you do leave him to protect your own emotional health. Remember, you don't have to put up with an asshole husband. On the other hand, if you believe that there is hope for change and that your husband is actually a nice guy on the inside, then here is the most important tip I can help you out. What is that tip? It is to make him feel needed. Look, this tip might sound strange when you're talking about an arsehole husband, but hear me out. Men love to feel needed. Chalk it up to men's evolutionary past of being the protector and provider in the relationship. Men have an instinct to make you feel comfortable and secure, to step up to the plate and be the hero for the woman in their life. And the genuine reason why your husband might be acting like an asshole is because he doesn't feel needed in your life. Perhaps you're an independent woman who has her own life on lock, and as a result, you're giving off a vibe that says you don't actually need your husband in your life. Do you ever ask your husband for help? Do you just assume that he won't lift a finger and you're going to do everything? He might not even know it, but a very real reason he may be acting like an asshole is that he can't be your hero. This term was coined by relationship psychologist James Bauer. Now, you can't trigger his hero instinct just by giving him admiration next time you see him. Men don't like receiving participation awards just for showing up, trust me. The best way to learn how to trigger the hero instinct in your guy is to watch the free online video I share in the description of this video. James Bauer gives a terrific introduction to his concept. If you can trigger this hero instinct successfully, then you'll see the results immediately. When a man genuinely feels like your hero, he'll become more loving, attentive, and interested in being the best husband he can be for you. Top tip. Some ideas really are life-changing, and when it comes to improving a marriage, this one is one of them. That's why you should watch the free online video I share in the description of this video to learn how to trigger the hero instinct in your husband.